2 years ago, I rented a Tesla Model 3 for just one day in order to drive it for the first time in my life and also do a little video review of a Tesla from the perspective of a petrolhead. I ended up actually enjoying the driving mechanics of the car, but I hated the user interface, the buttonless screens.
Who designed this?
And perhaps most of all, I hated the fact that the car was constantly beeping at me. It would beep whenever I got over the speed limit, even just like by 2 kilometers per hour. It would beep when I tried to change lanes without signaling, even though there was nobody on the road besides me for miles. It beeped when I got too close to the edge of the road. It beeped all the time. After fiddling with the menus of the car for some time, I managed to turn off almost all the sources of the beeping except one. One beep which would occur randomly from time to time, I couldn't turn off. And what's worst is that I never figured out what it was. I had to return the car without knowing what it was. Well, 2 years later, I bought this. It's right there. And it's a 2024 Toyota Prius, the 5th generation Prius. You have seen this car in the past video where I explained the interesting mechanics and engineering inside its transmission. Now today I want to talk about something else because this car has finally resolved the mystery of what that beeping in the Tesla was. Now I'm gonna hide behind the car because the wind is absolutely crazy today and it's ruining the audio. So yeah, this car resolved the mystery of the beeping, but it did something more important. And that's that it taught me that I was extremely naive. You see, I believed that the beeping and all the intrusive driver aids in the Tesla were a Tesla-only thing because, you know, Teslas are obnoxious, tech-obsessed cars for tech-obsessed people who hate driving. But it turns out I was wrong, because this car does more beeping and it's a worse backseat driver than the Tesla. In fact, it's the worst backseat driver I have seen in my entire life, and that includes humans. So is it a Toyota-only thing now? No. The sad thing is that intrusive driver aids are a industry-wide thing now. They're on pretty much all cars made in the past 2 years, 3 years, and you cannot permanently turn them off anymore. But what I really want to talk about in this video, what's the really scary thing about that is that now I'm sure that these driver aids are a clear signal of the beginning of the end of humanity. I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out, listen to my argument, and then if you can, prove me wrong. Now, to make my argument, we're gonna have to do some driving. Okay, so I'm about to come up to an intersection. I'm gonna stop, obviously, to see if there's any traffic. I'm gonna observe. No, nobody. I can safely merge. Okay, and right at that moment, it's gonna tell me this: caution, traffic crossing detected. It is going to advise me to apply caution to the situation because without this message on the screen, I would otherwise just go into an intersection without looking at anything. It does this, by the way, whenever you come onto a roundabout, when you're when you're about to merge. It's going to do the sound thing, it's going to beep, and it's going to display an icon of a traffic crossing, which, by the way, has nothing to do with reality, and it's going to divert your attention from the road down to the screen so that you can see that it has detected a traffic crossing. And it's going to do that in the precise moment when your attention is most needed outside on the road, because you are at a traffic crossing, there's multiple moving vehicles, you need to pay attention to avoid a collision. I would really like to know, what is the purpose of this? How does this improve safety? Something else this car really hates is sunglasses. Let me show you. If I put them on, we're gonna wait for a few seconds, and then there's gonna be a message displayed on the screen saying driver monitor, some functions restricted, face obstructed. There we go, there it is, right on cue. Now, Driver monitor is just some sensors here in the steering wheel which are monitoring your eyes, what they're doing, where they're going. And when you put your sunglasses on, obviously they can do that. So they inform you, hey man, your eyes are hidden, I can't do my thing. And I'm fine. I'm fine with that being told me, once I'm informed, thank you, whatever. The problem is that that message will keep being displayed for the rest of the drive. Randomly. Sometimes it's gonna display it once and then take a break. Sometimes it's gonna display driver monitor face obstructed like 5 times in a row. Driver monitor. It will not stop until you either take off your sunglasses or stop the car, put it in park, dig through the menus, find driver monitor and turn it off. You cannot turn driver monitor off while driving. But even if you turn driver monitor off, it will turn itself on automatically when you start the car again. It can never be permanently turned off. Not even the dealership can do it, I asked. Now what you can try to do is to put your hand on the steering wheel like so, and now we're going to drive. I'm trying to obstruct driver monitor with my hand actively. In that scenario, it's going to tell you, sit up, driver's face not detected. Notice, it's not a please sit up. It's a sit up human, driver's face not detected. Sit up so that I can collect your data, so that I can use it to train the next generation of intrusive, annoying driver aids and or autonomous driving systems. Wait, what data? The data that you agreed to allow me collect when you started this car, and I displayed an annoying wall of text and you just clicked agree to get rid of it because you wanted to use your music and your navigation. Yes, this car is going to display this every time you start it. If it doesn't detect your phone, the first time you pair your phone to the car, it's going to ask you to agree to stuff, and then in the future it won't when it detects your phone. But like with all modern cars, the phone connectivity is a hit and miss and mostly it doesn't detect it. So every time you have to agree to things to use this infotainment here. And I don't get it. Why do I have to be my phone? Like, this car has so many physical buttons, one of the reasons why we bought it. Why couldn't they just assign one button to memory, analog memory? I set up my driver aids, I set up my seat, whatever, and I say, okay, memory, these are my settings, this is what I want. No, it has to be through my phone. One phone equals one human. They want the phone because they want the data. They want your eye data, your other data, because nowadays companies make billions with data. Data is power, data is money. They're using our data from us, my eye data, to train the next generation of whatever that's gonna make them millions or billions or whatever. They're using it from us for free. We're trying so hard to protect our privacy, and I totally understand, but we should also be fighting for a piece of the cake because money is being made from our data. And if it is so, then I want some part of it. You made $2 when you do all the math. $2 from my data. Give me my $2. Give me my $5, $10, whatever. Give me a subscription, whatever. That's what we should also be fighting for. Something else this car can do is give me an absolute panic attack while trying to get out of a parking spot. Just look at that. All the flashing and all the noise and all the... Even when you're going in reverse, it's warning you about stuff that's staying behind, in front of you. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm gonna put it in park so it shuts up. It's constantly trying to convince you that there's something you're missing, some blind spot you're not seeing. It's trying to take away your confidence, your spatial awareness. It's trying to use its pathetic little digital brain to convince you that your superior organic human brain is somehow missing something. Something else we have is this chime, which chimes 3 times at me whenever I'm over the speed limit. Even if that's just like 2 kilometers per hour over the speed limit, it's gonna chime all the time. If you have more than 2 days of driving experience, I'm sure you have encountered many roads where the speed limits simply seem arbitrary and silly. Where I live, there's a lot of roads that have a 30 kilometers per hour speed limit, even though the road there is wide, there's no pedestrian crossings, no speed bumps, no sudden curves, nothing, and nobody drives 30 there. As you can see right now, I'm being tailgated because I am trying to stay below the speed limit. I'm trying to stay outside the natural traffic rhythm. See, now I'm going to be overtaken again in a pretty unsafe, unnecessary manner because I'm trying to stay below the speed limit. And another one. There's a natural flow to traffic. On this road, as you can see, we can go pretty fast. It's a wide open road. There's even space on the sides of the road, and everybody goes in that natural rhythm. If you don't, you get overtaken and or tailgated. You can't permanently turn it off. It's now a legal requirement in the European Union for all new vehicles. It started, I believe, 3 years ago. All new vehicles must have this, and trying to permanently turn it off is illegal. Honestly, it's safer to be a defensive driver within the natural flow of traffic. Maintain your distance between other vehicles, adapt to the possibilities of the road within the natural flow of traffic. This wants you to follow everything like a robot, because it is a robot. When the speed limit changes, it's going to immediately chime. For example, when it changes from 70 to 30, it's going to chime within a few seconds if you don't suddenly reduce your speed limit, which is unnatural. And driving like that it just feels wrong. But this is the only way this thing wants you to drive. This is the road we take every morning to take our kids to school, and it has a bunch of these manhole covers right in the middle, potholes, whatever you want to call them. And honestly, I want to avoid them because they're really uncomfortable. They make the car do a very loud thud, and I don't want that. I want to preserve my suspension and improve the comfort of me and my passengers. But every morning to do that, I have to literally wrestle the steering wheel to avoid these manhole covers, because to avoid them you have to get right very close to the outer edge of the road, and then lane keep assist. This has some sort of active lane keep assist, which is actively turning the steering wheel in the other direction because it's trying to anticipate, and it feels like you might be trying to get out of the edges of the road, and then I have to fight it to avoid the manhole cover. By the way, lane keep assist is now mandatory on all vehicles in the European Union, and trying to permanently turn it off is illegal. You can just turn it off for one drive, and then it turns itself on for every drive. I'm not saying these are bad technologies. I'm certain somebody has use for them, but I don't understand why they're being forced upon everybody the same way. Because I personally, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of other drivers, don't feel the same way. We didn't ask for this. I never needed it. I don't feel like it's doing anything for me now. It's not helping me. I'm a defensive driver. I obey the rules of traffic because I know what are the consequences. I take driving seriously. But this is still being forced upon me, and I don't have the right to permanently turn it off, even though it's not genuinely not helping. And I simply can't help but feel that these are laws for drivers written by people with chauffeurs. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is very obviously the beginning of the end of driving and of humanity, but we're going to start with driving and we're going to get to humanity pretty soon. It's probably only going to get worse from here on out. We won't be able in the future, probably won't be able to turn off the driver aids for any length of time. Eventually, maybe the cars are going to slow down to the speed limit themselves, regardless of what we do with the throttle. And then instead of just trying to yank the steering wheel from us, they're going to take control over it fully. And then somebody's going to say how human-only driving is only legal in designated tracks accessible to the rich. The rest of us are going to have to do with, I don't know, VR or something. But of course, none of this is going to happen overnight. It's going to be very small, incremental, gradual changes, because small changes make hard opposition hard to justify. And also they give us time to get used to one level and accept it before the next level of unsolicited junk gets unloaded onto us. And also, levels, incremental ones, they give governments and car makers and other stakeholders time to test and improve and develop the next level. So the question we must ask is, why do this? Why ruin driving for so many people? The official answer you're gonna get is that it's about safety. Safety. The modern explanation and excuse and justification for pretty much everything, because it's hard to argue against safety. So if you want to restrict basic human rights, safety. Want to oversee and control 3D printing? Safety. Want to control driving? Safety. But if it really were about safety, which it isn't, we would think about it, we would get some sort of safety score. And let's say you have your driver's license for 3 years, 0 accidents, you get to turn off some of the driver aids you want if you want to turn them off. 5 years, no accidents, you can turn off more of them if you want. 7 years, no accidents, you can turn off all of them. And of course, fully optional if you want to turn them off. Who wants can keep them, who doesn't can turn them off. And I think it would be a great motivator for a lot of people to drive more safely, because the ability to turn off the driver aids would almost be like an achievement, a medal, some sort of badge to prove that you're a safe, defensive, good driver. And it would mean something. But this isn't about safety, and this is why everybody gets the same driver aids, no options. This isn't about safety, this is about control. Think about it. Driving is a massive freedom. You get to operate a ton and a half of steel and plastic that can take you anywhere at any time at incredible speeds. No questions asked. It almost feels too naughty for today's reality. And you can still buy a running, working car for relatively little money. It is massive freedom accessible to the masses. But the problem with freedom is that it comes in all kinds of different shapes and colors. Some freedoms are nice and smooth and monotone. Other freedoms have spikes. Some other freedoms, they have neon colors. And then there's all kinds of other different types of freedoms. But when you zoom out, you can see that all of these freedoms together, they create a giant multicolored mass capable of doing some very unpredictable things. And unpredictability is the ultimate enemy of control. So if it's not about safety and it is about control, we must ask the next obvious question, and that is, why do the key stakeholders, like governments for example, in this process, why do they want more control? Is it because they're evil and they want to control everything? No, that's the lazy way out of this equation. The answer is because governments are made up of humans. Just like we are made up of individual cells and we seek self-preservation, so too are governments made up of individual humans and seek self-preservation. We are obsessed with control. You, me, every other human you know, it is seeking to increase and improve the control over its life. And that trait gets reflected onto all the larger bodies that are made up of humans. If you want to understand macro politics, and if you want to be able to predict what a government or a nation or a corporation is going to do next, all you have to do is imagine that large body as a single individual human. Your odds at predicting correctly are going to increase dramatically. Just imagine it as a single human seeking self-preservation. We are obsessed with control because we fear unpredictability. We hate being afraid. And we take every possible step to avoid these situations. That Prius is trying to control my driving, but I bought it in order to improve the control over my life. We bought it because It has a 10-year warranty. That's one of the main reasons. And that warranty eliminates unexpected financial expenditures from our life, and that improves the control over our lives. We all work jobs in order to have more money because money is a buffer against unpredictability. We live inside rigid structures with roofs because they protect us from the unpredictable variable of weather and or something or somebody trying to attack you in your sleep. Something happened at some point in humanity's past and our brains started developing dramatically faster than that of all other animals. Whether it was evolution, ancient aliens, or God, or whatever, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that it happened. And once it happened, we were no longer satisfied with just eating until we were full. No, we wanted to have control, to guarantee that we're going to have food tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the day after that and next winter and next year and so on and so forth. And to achieve that level of control, we realize that we have to subdue and tame and conquer nature. Because nature is the source of unpredictability. Nature is the source of fear, because nature has shown to be capable of burning and poisoning and starving and eating us and all other manners of nasty things. And so we feared it, and we hate being afraid. Think about it, even our gods are obsessed with control. The gods of the Abrahamic religions, they are almighty, eternal, all-knowing, yet they chose to busy themselves with control, to oversee humans and judge and punish them and send them instruction manuals on what they can and cannot do. And so trying to increase control over everything is what we have been doing ever since our brains had a growth spurt. But unfortunately, trying to achieve the ultimate control is also the ultimate trap. You always feel like you're close, you need just that one next little thing to finally feel safe. But in reality, it is never enough. No amount of control or technology or money or power or anything else is ever going to be enough to eliminate fear. Unpredictability and uncertainty are invincible. This is why the incredibly rich are not incredibly happy. This is why more technology is not making us more free. We were lied to. We were told that technology is going to free us from our chores and give us more time for the things that truly mattered. In reality, it seems that the more technology there is in our lives, the less time and the less free we seem to be and the less happy. Uncertainty and unpredictability are invincible because they are an inherent, intrinsic, inseparable part of everything around us. And that's because the universe is entropy. Nature is entropy. We are entropy. The omnipresent, all-powerful, endless state of disorder and randomness. We have been coded, evolved, designed, whatever you want to believe, to exist in entropy. We inevitably decay and return to entropy, to nature, but we don't want to accept it. And so we seek control in order to defy entropy. Such is our hatred of fear that we are ready to pay the ultimate price. We are ready to surrender everything we are and everything we have to technology in exchange for a little more than a promise of a future that is free of fear and unpredictability. There will be no dramatic, chaotic, catastrophic end of humanity. Instead, humanity will slowly erase, it will change itself out of existence by creating a world so obsessed with control and so devoid of any genuine freedom that to exist in that world we will have to shed that which makes us human in the first place, our ability to thrive in and appreciate entropy. The funny part is that somewhere along the way we became so impressed with our own little creations and ourselves that we forgot how in the scale of the universe we are less than a cosmic fart in an endless, ever-expanding universe of exploding supernovas and galaxy-consuming black holes. We are far closer to being nothing than to being everything. Yet we think we are everything and it all revolves around us. It doesn't. Our hubris and our helpless flailing against the current of the universe has made us forget how to appreciate, cherish, and nurture all of this life around us. All of these colors and miracles of life, all of this diversity on this planet. Remember, it all came out from pure chaos. But it seems that our senses have been dulled to the point that we no longer know how to exist in it. We don't even feel a part of it. Nowadays, we speak about coexistence with nature, coexistence as if we are not nature, as if we came from somewhere else, as if we are some higher species, which we are not. So why was the Tesla beeping? I figured it out thanks to the Prius, that random beep. Believe it or not, it's not the speed limit. It beeps at you even when you are under the speed limit, but the speed limit changes. It wants to inform you by beeping at you as if you're not looking out and seeing the signs on the street in traffic. TLDR of this video, in case of that was a bit too abstract. Too much technology, too fast. I have owned 9 different cars. The Prius is the 10th. 20 years of driving experience, more than 500,000 kilometers driven, probably even more. I stopped counting and adding up after 500,000. In all of that time, I have never hurt myself or any other participant in traffic, ever. The Prius is the most expensive, the fanciest car I have ever owned. So it should be the best, right? In reality, it is the most annoying, intrusive car I have ever owned, all because of those driving aids. What I fail to understand is why do we submit ourselves to technology so readily and so quickly without thinking twice? All of this happened in the span of half of one driving generations. Cars have changed so much, so fast in just 20 years. And it's gonna keep maybe happening even faster. And I don't understand why does that have to be that way. Why do we assume that computers are the answer to everything? I'm not saying technology is bad. I use it. Technology is good for a lot of things, but there should be more balance. We are investing all of our energy into technology, everything we put in there. I feel that if we invested just a fraction of that energy and effort into developing ourselves, our human capacities of all the generations, I think we would be better off. That's it. Yeah. As always, thanks a lot for watching. I'll be seeing you soon with more fun. And this wasn't really fun, was it? I'll be seeing you soon with more stuff on the D4A channel. Nature is kind of annoying with all the bugs. Yeah.